Welcome to the Embodied Mystic podcast, where we explore the path of feminine awakening and luscious womanhood. Together we'll be diving into topics like sacred sexuality, feminine embodiment, spiritual healing, and soulful relationships. I'm your host, Tamara Fael, tantric mentor and Aries hype girl, here to guide you back to the temple of your body and fall in love with being a woman. I look forward to journeying together. Hi loves, welcome to another episode of the Embodied Mystic podcast. Today I'm so excited to share with you a whole new kind of episode. So this one is going to be our very first bestie episode. And that's because I have my bestie here, Vikki Oriah. She is the one who just squealed with me. And yeah, today Vikki's going to join us and we are going to dive into some of the topics that we absolutely love. So I'll let Vikki introduce herself in a moment. But essentially, Vikki and I both have a lot of experience in Tantra and the world of embodiment and feminine energy. And we just have the juiciest, most hilarious, awesome conversations about sex, relationship, dating, healing, polarity, all the things. And I've just been dying to get her on and to share. So here's my girl, Vikki.
Thank you so much, Tamara. It's so good to be here. I'm so excited about talking about all these yummy things we love. So good. So, hi, everyone listening. I'm Vikki Oriah, and I'm a dating coach. And what I do for my work is help women embody their feminine energy so they can attract their king and have a beautiful, juicy, polarized relationship. Yum. And yeah, I'm so excited just to come on here and talk about all the things we love.
Yes! Oh my gosh, I know you're all going to absolutely love Vikki as much as I do. Literally, having Vikki as my friend has been, it's been so great because I always come with the most ridiculous dating stories, and having Vikki in my pocket as my friend is just like having the best relationship and dating advice ever. It's so awesome.
Yay. So fun.
So we've known each other, how long has it been? For like 2 years?
Yeah. Well, we knew of each other. So we're both from the UK, obviously, as you can hear.
London babes.
Yes. And so we kind of knew of each other in London, but we never really fully dropped in and connected. And then I had moved out to Bali. I've been here around 3 years now. And then you came, has it been about 2 years for you?
It's been like a year and a bit.
Yeah.
But I watched your move to Bali. Like I literally was like watching your stories and I was like, #jealous. Get me over there.
Yeah.
What am I doing here? But yeah, it's wild. Like we knew of each other kind of through the London Tantra bubble, but we never met.
Exactly, yeah.
And we were just Facebook friends for ages, but it just never... We never actually crossed paths in person until we were in Bali and you moved to Ubud.
Yes, because you were here in Ubud. I was living in Canggu, but then moved back up to Ubud. And then, I knew we knew we were here. Well, you messaged me. I can't remember actually because you would have known.
Yeah, I think I slid into your DMs.
Woohoo!
I think I saw you were moving to Ubud.
Yeah,
and was like, hi.
Let's hang out. And then, it's just been like since the first day we hung out, we were like, let's be besties and hang out all the time.
I know.
So good.
It's been so sweet, and something that I appreciate so much about our friendship is like our shared interests. I feel like we have so much in common in what we love, what we care about, and specifically like our relationship to femininity and like our like our perspectives on dating and polarity and being in the feminine. And something else is also just like all the awareness around healing and attachment styles. And I think like we have a really secure friendship, which has been so healing just to be in.
Same. I agree. I feel like there's just so much overlap in just like what we love to talk about and what we get excited about.
Oh my god, yes.
And like we and you know, both and like just like being in Bali and just everything that brings, and you know, like the kind of life we have is like similar, and our perspective on stuff and our experiences, and so it's just like there's just so much alignment. And and just how I really appreciate how we just have so much like fun and depth, and also just show up for each other in this really beautiful, consistent way. It's so good.
Yay! Yay, friendship!
Yay, friendship! Sisterhood!
Yay!
So it's so great. So I'm so excited to let people in a little bit on all the kind of stuff that comes up for us and what we talk about. And I think this is really great, this whole piece you just said around all the juicy, yummy, sexy man stuff, and all our stuff around feminine energy, and also like the deep healing that comes with that, and just how you just have to face stuff. Like for me on my feminine journey, it's also just been so confronting to like look at all those pieces that you know, on my journey where I haven't been in my feminine, or I haven't been in my secure attachment, or you know, my high valueness as a woman, and all the places, you know, that being in this world gets you to have a mirror against all your wounds. And it's just like
Totally.
It can be so intense.
And I think like that's something that like you, Vikki, like the way that I've always seen you throughout our friendship is just really embodying like this high value woman principle. And just, you know, in all your work and all the research you've done around like being in your power while dating, and loving yourself as a woman and as a being, and really moving from that space in relationship. Like you've actually been such an amazing role model for me for that. And there's been times in our friendship where like I haven't been acting as the high value woman I know I am in dating, and I've compared myself to you and been like, oh, Vikki would have never done that.
Aww.
And it's amazing how friendships can be such mirrors for us. Like they can inspire us, and we can also see in the other person like what we want to embody more of. And I think it's such a beautiful thing to be inspired by each other rather than like jealous.
Yeah, totally. And you know, and I feel like this is maybe something that doesn't get talked about so much, but it's like, it's just so easy to get jealous in friendships. Like I feel the same. I felt jealous of you before, you know, and it's just like, actually, I think it's just like, when we're, you know, on the path we're on, we are going to just meet other amazing women that it's going to be confronting sometimes, and it's going to be like, hard to like see the parts in someone else that you're like, I really want more of being like that, right? And so and it's so beautiful to see it to be with that and see it as inspiration rather than like, bitch, cutting her out.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I mean, the truth is that I'm only friends with phenomenal women.
Yeah.
Who are like absolutely killing it in their lives, and, you know, who have conscious healing businesses and who are just like pillars of feminine strength and forces of love in the world, and just like just really fierce, incredible, devoted, loving women. And what I've realized recently, like I realized this probably, December, so like a month ago. We're filming this at the end of Jan, recording this, is that I can only support other women like deeply, like I can only like truly genuinely support other women to be their best when I'm committing to be my best. And I'm not letting myself slack on like living my best life. And this isn't about being in the masculine and forcing myself, but it is about holding myself accountable to my goals and my dreams and my visions. Because if I'm not serious about that, and if I'm not devoted to that, then of course I'll feel jealous of my friends who are doing that, you know, and living their vision and have businesses that are popping off and amazing love lives and like all the things that I can also have if I put the devotion in.
Yeah, exactly. If you're intentional and doing it in a way filled with devotion, it's attainable. And it's just then we get to surround ourselves with people who inspire us in the ways that we want to grow. So beautiful.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. So I'm wondering if we should bring in some pieces from our conversation before we went out having a very juicy conversation before about, we were talking about polarity, and we were talking about the way when there is like super hot polarity sometimes with men, it can also come with like level 10 trigger and like extremely crazy making situations. And I have had my like more than my fair share of this kind of thing. I would say like this has kind of been like where I have lived with my dating for the last few years, has been just like intensely hot chemistry and like delicious vibes, and also just triggering as fuck. Oh my god.
Yeah, I feel you. I have also really been in some situations, where, and we were talking about this before, of how I was in a relationship some time ago now, and the chemistry was so like electrifying, and there was like so much fire and passion in my relationship with this man. Just like whoa. And there was a huge amount of polarity. So he was like a very, very strongly masculine man, and so it was just so easy for me to just completely surrender into my feminine with him, and it just felt so good. And I felt very, protected and provided for in many ways. And the relationship was extremely triggering for me, and it really exposed so many of my wounds, and I really noticed how I tolerated things that really I didn't enjoy
Yeah.
and I didn't want in the relationship, and I felt very unmet in intimacy in a lot of ways, actually, in this sense of like this real like having the heart online and being like cared for and actually devoted to, you know, in this way I felt didn't feel met in those areas.
Oh my God.
And that
so
was
relate.
and that was really challenging to be with, that there was just so much beautiful chemistry and attraction, and I just felt such a huge amount of attraction, but there wasn't this like deeper sense of safety and security in the relationship. And actually, in fact, I think it's not coincidence. I feel like the two are linked.
Yes.
So I'd love to know your thoughts on that.
Oh my God. Speaking right. Speaking to me, babe. Speaking to me. Yeah. I do think the two are linked, and it's something that I feel so much of me resists that fact. I'm like, no, I'm like holding on to like my dream of like all the passion and the polarity. I'm like, I'm like grabbed onto it, and I'm like screaming, and my rational mind is like, no, move away, like move away. There's more than hot sex.
Yes.
Like there's more. But yeah, oh my God, yeah. I think I think there's a lot to be said around like passion and excitement and intensity, and just how all of that is actually like dysregulating.
Yeah.
It's just like hugely dysregulating and unsettling, and I feel out of my center actually when I'm in these states. And to be honest, it's like there's this really, it's fascinating for me, because being surrendered and feeling like claimed and like, I don't know, just all these things that I think about when I consider like what I actually want and how I want to feel, and just like being completely surrendered. I actually, in some way, like, I'm not in my completely centered state of being. Like, I'm in some kind of other altered state. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
I mean, it might be a little bit unclear, but yeah, I'm really doing my best to notice when I'm coming out of my center, and like consciously choosing to move closer to men and be more involved and engaged in like dating situations where I feel completely centered, completely grounded, totally in my power. And yeah, they're definitely less exciting, but I'm in less of a spin. Like I'm not like getting super triggered. And if I do get triggered, I can come back because I never left my center that much.
Yeah, exactly. Like the repair, the coming back afterwards, you know, if something ends, it's like a whole lot easier because you didn't self-abandon when you're with, when, you know, it's when you're able to stay in your center more.
And it's so much easier to stay in my center when the chemistry between us isn't like sizzling. Because I'm just like, I do have a strong willpower, but I also just like, I love physical touch and I love being close. And I have been in situations that have become intimate, and not necessarily even sexually intimate, but just like intimate as in we're close physically fast.
Yeah.
And I'm just asking myself questions about how supportive that is for me, and whether that actually gives me enough emotional distance to stay in my center whilst getting to know someone. Because I don't know, like I'm still figuring it out.
Yeah, totally. I think, you know, it's like so easy for our like more primal, and I don't mean necessarily primal as in like what I'm trying to say is like the primal aspect of us that just wants to connect, like a real basic thing, and attach to someone can just like take over, and then you're like, wait a minute. Yeah, it can be like, well, actually, is this in alignment for like the rest of you, even if your body's like yes, 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 or you know, pussy says yes.
Pussy says yes. Oh my god, yes.
And then we can be like, oh yeah, I just can't resist that. It's so seductive. But I think, you know, this whole thing about like these really electric connections maybe not being so healthy, and like the link there, it's like, it's almost like, I think, you know, especially if you're someone who has maybe a pattern of this, it's like addiction to the uncertainty. You know, back to what you said about this dysregulating thing, it's like somehow there's this like addiction to it, and it's just like a patterning of like to the uncertainty, to like the almost like danger aspect of it, that it is unsafe makes it sexy.
Oof, danger.
Right? And it's like, oh my god, yeah. It's and then when somebody, you know, and this happens a lot with people, doesn't it? And it happened with me. I went through this journey of being in non-secure relationships, and then coming into a secure relationship with somebody. So like my classic pattern was being with unavailable, avoidant men.
Oh yeah,
That
God.
one,
Oh my
that
god, that whole.
Yeah.
I have no idea about that.
And then the transition into more secure dating and secure relating, it feels so different. And it took some time for my nervous system, for my attachment system to like just get used to that and like find that attractive. And because it isn't so dangerous, it isn't so uncertain. Like the hallmarks of a healthy relationship that's secure is like safety and certainty. So it's like, hang on.
It's not very sexy.
Yeah. So it's like the parts of me that want that intimacy, closeness, safety are like, oh my god, yay, I'm finally. But then the parts of me that have the addiction to the fire and the inconsistency and like the hot and cold and all of that stuff, it's like, well, wait a minute.
Yeah.
It's not so fun for us. But then I do believe, and what I noticed with me over time, as I heal those wounds, because I believe, you know, when we're addicted to the danger, it is coming from a place of something unresolved within us. And then once that gets more resolved, and I feel like for me it also healed being in a secure relationship, that part of me was able to heal as well as doing my own individual work. And then those parts, I don't know, they transform and their needs change, and then I get met those parts get met in kind of other ways within the healthy relationship. That's what I've noticed.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And I love what you were saying about like we can heal these things in relationship. Like I love this concept where it's like, we heal in relationship. And while it's really tempting to just like go into hermit mode and exclude ourselves from the world while we're trying to figure all this out, and I do think it's healthy to take like dating sabbaticals or have periods of celibacy, it's like ultimately we do heal these wounds and these like patterns in relation to other, and that's the real it's like it's so tricky, and it can be a really slow, gentle process as well of like moving through connection and relationship and just figuring things out, and just knowing that we're all humans like walking each other home and figuring out like how to love each other and just doing our best to be loving and be in relationships that are nourishing and fulfilling to us. And we're all on that journey, but it can get so painful and confusing and messy when we forget that we're all just doing our best and fucking up as well. Like majorly.
Oh my God, so much fuck up. And I think, you know, what I love about what you were saying is you don't need to be perfect to be in your ideal relationship.
God.
Yeah. And we just have, and I've had this feeling before of like, oh my God, I'm like not healed enough, or like, I need to heal my stuff more before I meet someone, you know, and this is such a trap, this feeling. And I think so many people have this belief and this feeling, right? But it's, I love this, I can't remember where I heard it from, but it's like we get these wounds in relationship, and the way to heal them is in relationship.
Yes.
You know, so we get these wounds from like childhood or early relationships or past relationships that were very traumatizing, and then the way to heal them is in relationship, you know, and in healthy relationship, right? So I think this myth of perfection just completely needs to be busted and demolished, because this is like such a losing game when we try and just like be perfect. And I've so been there.
Same.
And it's just not the vibe.
Oh God, it's so not the vibe. I'm like trying to remember. No, I'm like, were we having this conversation? I don't remember. Or maybe I was listening to another podcast and they were talking about how like, you know, there's people in jail in relationships, and people in jail have loads of women after them, and like definitely not perfect. It's like, we're not in jail, you know. And I actually also want to say that good people go to jail as well.
Oh,
you know.
Yeah.
Then,
yeah, that's true.
But yeah. Anyway, that was an interesting little
side
tangent visit to the jail. So you and I have spent considerable amount of time in the Tantra world. The good old world of Tantra and conscious sexuality. And I guess it's been something like 7 years between us. We've both have had a lot of experience in these fields, both as participants and as facilitators. And these are like, it's quite a unique space to be in. And I'm curious, like, I love talking about the Tantra scene. I think it's so juicy, and the kind of characters we meet, and especially the kind of relationship dynamics that we and that other women and people find themselves in. And I know, like, for me personally, I have actually really needed to move away from that scene. And actually both of us, like we're both kind of like Tantra teachers or ex-Tantra teachers who have decided to move away from those spaces, like not completely, but just move away from really like spending a lot of energy and time in those spaces. And a big part of that is that both of us are looking for a more traditional kind of relationship, and we're looking for men who are more traditional in their values. And I know for me, like in the fields of Tantra and conscious sexuality, I was meeting loads of incredible men, but they were wanting relationships that were much more casual and polyamorous. And even though, you know, the polarity was amazing, it was very exciting and passionate, because we were literally in those spaces that were cultivating that, and that were teaching us how to be in those spaces. And often, like, the men that I was choosing were teachers and assistants, and it just it was amazing on one level, and then I really was not feeling met in the stability, in the commitment. There was like zero sense of security in the connection, and I think this is something that's really common in those fields.
Yeah. And I think, I feel a lot of people come into tantric spaces or conscious sexuality fields, and there is definitely, especially as if people are coming in single, there is definitely this energy of exploration and self-discovery and openness, and it's like there's the environment of these spaces just really is set up for more of that kind of thing, and people who are in that phase of life. And it's where you're discovering yourself in this whole new way, and it's like so beautiful, the whole tantric field and these spaces when you're in that stage of life, or when you're in that phase of that being an important priority, which can often happen when people have an adult sexual awakening. And but there gets a time where it's like it's not fulfilling other things that are very important, I think, especially as a woman.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think it's interesting because I feel this is kind of like insider scoop into the tantric into the tantric field.
Yes.
But I definitely, it was amazing in some ways, the experiences that I've had, they were incredible. And at the same time, it's like, these men know what they be doing. These men are highly trained. What do you think's going on in Tantra class? They're learning what women like.
Yeah.
They're learning women like rose petals and bards and extended foreplay. And, eye gazing. They literally, they're learning a map to a woman's heart and what's going on for a woman. And it's... it can be a little bit dangerous actually in these fields, I've felt.
And I think, a lot of the time women can go in quite naively and, it's just like, wow, big eyes, are not really actually having a grounded sense of within themselves.
Totally.
And it's just fun, and I'm, in this space, and everyone's so beautiful, and and I think actually as well in a lot of tantric organizations, there is a real encouragement of, maybe promiscuity and openness and being exploring poly and and this can sometimes the kind of group dynamic can sometimes override your individual wants and needs.
Absolutely.
And so I do agree there is this level of danger that can happen, and this kind of feeling of going along with what everyone else is doing, what the teachers are saying, in the spirit of getting out of your comfort zone and breaking your own boundaries.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Whereas actually you're just no, this just really isn't what I desire. Sometimes, and it can often be really confusing to know if it's am I blocked, or am I just a no to this because it's not what I want. So I think, there is this kind of shadow side of the whole tantric scene that is important to be aware of. And another thing I really think as well, having become more nervous system aware, is that it's you have a lot of experiences that are very overwhelming to the nervous system. And often there's
Yeah.
just not, there's often a lot of dysregulation
Yes.
in these.
Yes, which is like exactly what we were talking about before, right? It's like the pow and like the big transformational experiences and the peak orgasms and the hot polarity, the sizzling chemistry. It's like a lot of this is connected to dysregulation.
Yeah.
And it takes someone with such a deep sense of like self attunement and knowledge of like their own energetic system and their own nervous system, like so much self-awareness to truly discern like what's going on for them. Like it takes so much time, and I was so grateful. Like I had done around 2 years of like solid meditation practice and facilitation and breath work, journeying, and just like living in spiritual community before I came into contact with Tantra groups. And that supported me so much to like feel my no, to have some tools. And yeah, like those environments were still extremely overstimulating for me. And yeah, I think it's really beneficial when people go into Tantra, and especially Tantra groups, having had some really solid, like a really solid background of meditation and spiritual practice and just like self-inquiry.
Yeah.
So doing other kind of like healing practices, being in therapy. I'm a big advocate of therapy. And just having like some solid self-awareness, because these groups and these environments are so powerful and so transformational and amazing. Like I love these spaces, and I know you do as well. And we're just well aware also of like the dark side and what these spaces haven't been so good at, supporting people with.
Yeah, absolutely. And and I think, there also comes a time, and I think we've both hit that, where it's like these spaces, as just, magical and transformational as they can be. And what we're talking about when we are saying this is, going to workshops, like tantric workshops, going to different immersions, going to retreats, living in tantric community, being around other people who are also on this path of bringing more consciousness to their sexuality, bringing more of spirit into relationship. And so there's a lot of this energy of people seeking and exploring, which is really beautiful when that's what you want to. But what I've noticed with myself is really like so deeply diving into that work and into those types of communities and feeling really nourished and really that sense of belonging and really getting a lot out of it. And so nice, and having so many beautiful experiences. But then as I've been going through my life, I've really noticed other things are becoming more important and more of a priority, which is actually less seeking and like more stability, and more grounding and more settledness, and not just like mixing my energy, especially my sexual energy, with a room full of different people who I don't know.
Totally.
Oh
my God.
And now I just feel a lot more private in that way, actually. And my yearning is to like go deeper with one person rather than, exploring in lots of different ways. And Yeah, and so it's just now what I need and what I value is just not so much in alignment with what those spaces and that community provides.
Yes. Oh my gosh, babe, I'm like 100% with you. And I think that's why we get on so well, because like we've just, like we're ready for something different. And I remember just realizing, because I also like, I love these spaces so much. I invested so much time and energy and devoted myself to these spaces, and, you know, learning to be the best dakini and space holder that I could be required spending a lot of time. And I know you did as well. And I also really wanted to be in a relationship. And you know, I had a realization this summer, like I already did know, but it came in so clearly for me over, you know, last summer, that I am not exploring my sexuality, really. Like I'm not in a phase where I feel like I need or want to explore my sexuality. I've done so much of that. Yeah. And of course it never ends. And with one partner, I'm always exploring. But I no longer want to share group space where we are exploring our sexuality together in whatever way that is. And that doesn't, by the way, if anyone's listening to this who's never been in one of those spaces, it doesn't mean everyone's in an orgy. It's not like that. You know, it can be a very individual thing, but I don't really want to be in those spaces unless I'm like supporting someone and it's client work. Yeah. You know, like unless I'm deciding like, okay, I'm doing this professionally and this is a space I want to be in, but I don't want to be spending my whole life in these temple spaces. Yeah. And that's why I moved away, because the people that I was meeting, who are so incredible and who I love, like honestly, like the majority of the people in my world are from these spaces, and they're phenomenal people with so much experience in healthy relationships, which I appreciate so deeply, and life force, like people who are so alive and passionate, because working with your sexuality, you just unlock your fire and your passion and your zest for life. So these people are incredible, but I felt like I was looking for something a little bit more stable, grounded, and traditional in terms of seeking partnership. And most of the people in these spaces were just exploring and expanding their sexuality and their relationships to new spaces, interested in polyamory, wanting to do things differently. And that's just not where I was. So it just stopped being the right place for both of us.
Yeah, it's so interesting. And I really love and feel so validated around you know, of just that we're on this same journey together, that we've had such similar background of just being in this kind of world. And like you said, it is also such a gift, because so few people get to experience that, because, you know, maybe they just never had the opportunity or awareness or bravery or vulnerability to ever think that that's something that could be available to them. And it is so enriching to really develop yourself in this area around your sexuality and become comfortable with that, and really seeing it as this sacred act, which you know, just the act of lovemaking, but also especially within yourself as a woman, and really realizing how, you know, we have such a kind of bad and clinical relationship with our genitalia in the default world, whereas I found on the tantric journey just to honor myself so much as a woman. So it's not only, you know, around this kind of sexual exploration with others or sharing sexual energy in a group or anything like that, or like you said, exploring it individually in a group, in like a, workshop or something, but how I have transformed my relationship to myself as a woman. And I really feel like, having had that experience, I'm more in a phase of life of wanting depth long term with one person. I feel like I'm bringing so much richness and depth just within myself as a woman, in myself being like a sexually awakened woman, that is like such a gift for our partners. Like, oh my god, lucky
lucky there. I mean, these men, they are
but now it's like we want to just go deep with that one person. And for me now, I'm just so not excited or interested in group spaces, and we both still get like invited to these things
all the time.
People want us there, babe. But
oh god,
but it's like just coming into a different phase of life. But so beautiful, so juicy, so much to explore, mainly within your own being.
Absolutely.
And all the triggers and stuff that comes up, because it's like fun and lovely and community and juicy and all of that stuff, but you get triggered.
How many god.
How many times have you been to a temple night and been
stop.
So triggered?
Most times, but pretty much every time. Every time.
Like jealousy, or feeling like alone, or no one likes me, or I'm feeling invaded. Just all the spectrum of stuff that
Trigger
comes up.
central.
So in that way, if you can go, and I used to kind of think of it more like this, like going into a temple space, it's just like it's a night of personal growth, intense personal growth.
Oh my god, it's just hilarious, because I think for people who haven't been, who will hear us talking about this, again, it's like just imagining this orgy kind of vibe. It is not like that.
No.
I mean, it's more like people crying and people crying.
Hitting a pillow, screaming into a pillow.
Screaming into a pillow. It's like someone's being lightly stroked in a corner, and there might be like one of like a couple.
Kind of like
having a nice...
spice it up and then come along.
And then just like a huge cuddle puddle.
And like people dancing naked.
People dancing.
So it's like, and like, just for people listening, if they have no idea about this, and it's like a very safely held space, if it's done right.
If it's done right.
And there's just like connection games at the beginning, and rituals, and like tantric practice, and like breathing practices.
We're like trying to make up.
We're just like, it's basically PG. It's like, it's not an orgy.
Like, wait. It's like, it's not what you think, Mom. Mom and Dad, it is sacred, and we are connecting. We're eye-gazing, and getting triggered.
And also, this is the thing about space, it's like everything's welcome. Like the screaming into the pillow, and if it's a space that is welcoming of that, of, like being able to have intercourse with someone.
Gosh,
and, it's just a field of permission. Basically.
Yes. And I love, this has been my favorite thing about these spaces, these tantric spaces. And, each and every one is different, and depending on the one holding the space and the people there, like there are all kind of different frameworks and guidelines and agreements. But being in the field of Tantra and conscious sexuality, like for me, it's been so much about the free expression of life force and sharing that with a group of people and moving with excitement and following the energy and being real. It's like being really real and connection through authenticity. And sexuality and erotic energy is sometimes part of that.
Yeah.
But so often it's not. And I had the most beautiful experience actually in one temple. I'm like trying to even remember how it started. I think there was like two women who were like, would you like to receive some just like sensual, loving touch? Not erotic, but just like some just like lovely touch. And I was like, yeah, sounds great. Let's do it. And so we went to a mattress, and yeah, there were these two women just like touching me in the most beautiful way. And I was just like, oh, so great. Love my life.
So good.
And I just honestly, I don't know what happened, but like one by one, like more and more women appeared and were just like, can I join? Can I join you? And at one point, like I was just being like massaged, touched, tickled, like even like kissed on my face by a group of like 10 women or something. And it was so beautiful. The men must have been so jealous.
Looking on, being like, wow,
oh my God. But it was
beautiful.
so like sweet and sensual and playful and like very lightly erotic, but just not really.
Yeah,
You know? Just
yeah.
like not really, but just this beautiful embodied exploration of like sisterhood and like
the
feminine energy and nourishment and
so nice.
oh, it was so beautiful. So that was one non-triggering temple experience.
Oh God, that's so good when they happen. Yeah, and I've had experiences as well where just like connecting so beautifully with women and just being in a cuddle pile and just talking and sharing, and there's just something about the conversation that unfolds in these spaces is just very sweet and tender a lot of the time, and very vulnerable and raw and real. Because it is a space that really cultivates that, and like being exposed and being more naked, like metaphorically speaking.
Absolutely.
And this creates connection, and that's what we want, it's what we're all craving, just to feel connected. And I think that's actually the deeper thing that drives a lot of people into these spaces.
Absolutely. And that's what makes these quote unquote temple spaces different from orgies.
Yes.
Because, it's like if you go to an orgy or a play party or whatever, not that I have a huge amount of experience with that, I really don't, but it's like people come for sex.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
It's very disconnected, actually.
Yeah, it's like people come, like everyone knows what everyone's there for, and that's what it is. And you know what? I'm sure there are some very beautiful and sweet and tender connections happening in play parties. I don't want to generalize.
Yeah.
But in these kind of more tantric temple spaces, like connection and sweetness and vulnerability and depth is what we're leading with, and a really finely held temple sets up the whole space so that it's orientated towards that, with exercises that are connection building and that give everyone a chance to feel safe to be there and be themselves and express however they choose. So oh,
Fond memories.
very sweet, very
Yes.
sweet.
Aw.
Yeah, we do love the Tantra workshops. We do. So, this is feeling like a beautiful note to end on. Is there anything else you'd like to share before we wrap it up?
Just my appreciation for you inviting me on. It's been so wonderful to share with you and get to let other people in on our conversations and our lives. It's just, so fun to do that. So thank you.
You're so welcome. You know, my favorite podcasts to listen to are the ones where it's either like one woman or like two women just hanging out and having a natter, and I just feel like I'm their best friend. I'm just
like the three of us sitting here right now.
Exactly.
Us two and you.
Exactly. And that's why I really wanted to have you on, because I think you have such an incredible wealth of experience and wisdom about these juicy topics, which I adore. I obviously love you. You're my bestie. And yeah, I just wanted to have these episodes that are feeling like just even more, even less like formal.
Yeah.
Like, and just like vibey. It's like we're hanging out, chatting about life and all the things and our fuck ups.
Yeah.
Fuck ups and triggers and, you know, all the things. So yeah, I really hope these features will continue. Yay. So we would absolutely love to hear from you. As always, my inbox is always open. Let us know, like, how did you feel about the bestie episode? What did you vibe with? What gave you food for thought? Just let us know. Curious. We'd love to hear from you.
And like, let us know if there's like other topics you want to hear about.
Oh, hell yeah. What do you want to ask us? Ask us anything. It's like, Amma, what's ask us anything? Awa.
I don't know.
Okay. Moving on, Hey, ask us, whatever, you get it. So I'm gonna pop all of Vikki's lovely links in the show notes as well as mine. Is there anything you have going on, Vikki, that you want people to know about, or?
Well, you can follow me on Instagram.
Please do.
It's Vikki.Oriah, and I guess, it's in the show notes. You can just check out the link in my bio there of just like courses and workshops I have on. That's the best place to find me, on Insta.
Love it. Yeah, love the gram. So, wishing you all the most beautiful, nourishing day. Sending you so much love, and I'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye. You're listening to the Embodied Mystic podcast. Thank you for being here and for hanging out with me. I hope you enjoyed today's episode and that it could serve you in some way. I'd love to hear from you. My inbox is always open. Let me know what spoke to you in this episode, and if there was a moment that lit you up or brought you into deeper self-reflection. If you loved this episode, I'd be super grateful if you took a moment to leave a review or share with a friend. You can do this easily by visiting the link in the show notes. It's been a real pleasure connecting with you today, and I'll see you soon.